All right, so you had a meeting with the governor in your office over there, I assume, at City Hall. Take us inside that room. Walk us through how it went.
Well, we made it clear that we didn't want this to be a photo op. We wanted this to be a pure, if he was going to come up and apologize, to just, come on up and say what it is that he had to say. And in fact, he did. He came up. He was gracious. He was apologetic. We believe sincere. But, it's an ongoing investigation. And we're concerned that there's more stuff and more issues to deal with. But we are appreciative here in Fort Lee that the governor came up here to apologize.
You believe him?
I take him for his word. Listening intently to the press conference today, I mean, there was no in between. There was nothing but unequivocal statements that he had absolutely no knowledge. He repeated those statements during the course of our interview. I viewed it as productive. By no uncertain terms is it closure. By no uncertain terms is it the end of this issue, though it is the beginning of what we're hopeful is a trusting relationship without fear of retribution in the future. And in that regard, that was number one on my list, which was, how do you assure us here in Fort Lee that we don't suffer the fate of retribution in the future? He assured us that wouldn't happen.
You've had a chance to observe him up close for 4 years now. Was this kind of political vendetta, the revenge that we saw in September, an isolated incident, or in your recollection, in your memory over the past 4 years, were there other incidents along these lines that come to mind?
In fairness, in the world of politics, if you're good at, I guess, doling out vendettas, sometimes you don't even realize you're experiencing them, if you know what I mean. But I have no knowledge of any other retribution being aimed at the borough of Fort Lee. If you know me, you'll know that I keep a pretty close tab on my community and what we do on a day-to-day basis. So I'm not aware of any.
The FBI has now been brought into this investigation on a federal level by the U.S. Attorney in New Jersey. When you hear that, and when you hear one of the Port Authority officials who had been appointed, David Wildstein, now refusing to testify, pleading the Fifth Amendment before the state legislature, this seems to be escalating, this potential for criminal wrongdoing.
Yeah, well, it certainly does. I mean, you don't hear those initials, that being the FBI, unless it reaches a level of criminality. And sure, look, you don't close the busiest bridge in the world without having any basis to do so. And quite frankly, your only basis is to dole out retribution. It's not something that's acceptable, and I'm sure it breaks laws. What those specific laws are, I don't know, but not something you do. So I think everybody now recognizes the severity of it, which brings me to the next point, if I may. You cannot imagine how grateful we in Fort Lee are to the folks that are doing what they need to do to determine the facts. The Assembly Subcommittee for Transportation and their incredible work on determining precisely what transpired, who's responsible, and to make sure that this doesn't happen again. We in Fort Lee are eternally, eternally grateful.
You believe as he says, he's not a bully?
I don't know the governor well enough to be able to make a determination as to whether or not he's a bully or he's not a bully. And again, I'm not waffling here. I see what I see. I see what you guys report. Tough is definitely a word. No nonsense is definitely a word. I think bully's a category that you need to know him a little better to be able to cast that description on the guy. Look, if somehow, some way it's established that he was involved in this, yeah, bully would definitely fit. Right now, we find him to be conciliatory, apologetic, and we take him for his word at this point. I'll be sure to let my community know that my view of it was that there was a sincere apology. We accept him for his word. But like I said, those fact finders and those agencies will have to do their job as they have been doing. And again, I can't say it enough. We are so very grateful.
Your name came up at the news conference, and the governor spoke about you, professing he wouldn't even be able to pick you out of a lineup. I want you to listen to what he said.
I never heard the Fort Lee mayor's name, Mark Sokolich, his name, until all this stuff happened. And so he was not on my radar screen at all. Plenty of other mayors were. And a number of them wound up endorsing us, and a number of them I wound up having meetings with, like you're referencing. Mayor Sokolich, not only did I never have a meeting with him, he was never mentioned to me. That's why, you go back to the question over here about, making a joke about this. That's part of the reason I felt comfortable doing it. Like, this can't have anything to do with politics. I don't even know this guy.
We did go to his website, though, the governor's website, and look what we found. We saw a picture of you. There you are, right in the front there, and the governor, and not on your website, on his website. He says he never heard of you, certainly was not interested in getting your endorsement. What did you make of that comment?
I guess I don't have the impact on people that I thought I had, I guess. I don't know. I can't. You'd have to ask him that question. I was also surprised when I heard that, he didn't know me or he couldn't pick me out of a lineup. In light of what's going on, I'm not so sure those are the best, that's the best term to use. But I couldn't tell you. I don't know what his thought process was. I will tell you this, though. The concluding remarks that I made to the governor in my office a little while ago were, Governor, am I now on your radar? And his response was something along the lines that Fort Lee now has its own screen. So, look, if there's a benefit that can be derived here from my community, I'm in it for Fort Lee, Wolf. I'm not going to grandstand here. I'm the mayor of Fort Lee. It's a place that I love. I need to protect it. I need to make sure our quality of lives are preserved. And we're hopeful that we're now going in the right direction. And that's it. But we're getting our own screen, I'm told. I guess that's a good thing.
Yeah, he obviously knows who you are. He said that when he saw you on TV yesterday, presumably here on CNN, he finally saw who you were. But I was surprised by that because Fort Lee is an important city in New Jersey. It's the gateway for a lot of people who come from New York over that George Washington Bridge. They go to Fort Lee, and it was pretty surprising to me to hear he didn't even know who the mayor of Fort Lee was.
Yeah, we think, we think we're pretty important also. We're the gateway community to the state of New Jersey. We're in the middle of $1 billion redevelopment. And I expressed that to the governor, too. We are in a very, very vulnerable state here. We're in the middle of this $1 billion redevelopment. We're in the middle of special improvement development projects, redevelopment projects. And we're in the middle of a renaissance that we've never, ever seen before. Fort Lee is once again regaining its status as the place to be. And right now, we don't need this. And we certainly don't need it with threat of future retribution. We've opened more businesses here in the last 3 months than in any 3-year period. Folks are coming back. The culture has changed. The confidence level is at its highest. We need to make sure that it stays there. What's happened is something that happened and transpired over many, many months. It's not going to be cured during the course of one day. But if you have to take a step, I believe that this was the step the step to take. So we're hopeful we're going in the right direction. And as I said, we take him for his word.
Obviously, you didn't know the mayor, the governor that well, Mayor. But what about these aides? Bridget Ann Kelly, his deputy chief of staff, who was fired today or yesterday. Bill Stepien, the campaign manager, former campaign manager. David Wildstein, the Port Authority representative. Did you know any of them? Did you have any dealings with them? Did you have any reason to believe they would seek some sort of political vendetta against you because you, as a Democrat, didn't endorse the Republican candidate for re-election?
Well, I was apparently on their radar screen. We now know that. As far as Bill's concerned, we definitely developed a personal relationship. I wouldn't say it was a good friendship, but it was definitely somebody that I can call and I spoke to on a pretty regular basis. He was our go-to guy. Wildstein, I met once. That was it. And Bridget Kelly, I don't ever really recalling. The guy that called me an idiot, him I never met. I'd love to now, though. And that's really it. The only relationship I had out of these four was with Baroni.